Premed office hours. It is July 30th, 2025. It is almost August. I can't believe it. If you are applying this cycle, buckle up. Buckle up. We're going for a ride. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, founder of the medical school headquarters, author of some books, the host of the Premed Years podcast. But the best thing is I am a colleague of the one, the only Dr. Christine Crispin, former director of admissions at UC Irvine, AdCom member, and director of curriculum at Keck Med of USC.
That's right.
How you doing, Dr. Crispin?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome.
Well.
I'm excited to answer some questions today. Also, the great privilege of having Courtney Dunford, formerly Lewis, former director of admissions at Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. Hello, Courtney.
Hi. I need to add some more stuff after my name.
I know. We can add more. We have
a couple other things, but
we can put all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Nice and sunny up here right now. So.
We should put the fun stuff on here too, like favorite band, some random favorite hobby, favorite color, favorite ice cream, all the good stuff, all the fun icebreaker stuff. As you are joining us, if you are new here, this is free pre-med advising for the hour. We have two former directors of admissions on the episode today. Myself, not a former director of admissions. I'm a nobody. I just started a podcast a while ago that lots of people know because of my face being here, but I get all of my knowledge from these amazing people that I surround myself with. So come ask the questions and let's get you some amazing answers to help you on your journey, because that's one of our big missions here, is to make this process easier for everyone, not just the people that can afford to work with our team, which we do. We do one-on-one stuff, but we try to give and give and give as much as possible as well. So Benita kicking us off with a question. When does the latest MCAT score expire? Benita, this is not I'll just answer this one quickly. This is not a kind of universal answer. Every school has their own kind of guidelines on what MCAT, like what's the oldest MCAT they will accept. So you just got to go school by school and check it out. So I don't know why they expire. Maybe that's a conversation for the two of you. Why does the MCAT score expire? What is that? Obviously, besides the MCAT or the AAMC wanting to make more money. Is there an admissions committee answer? Right, because it is the admissions committee at each school that determines, hey, we'll accept something that's 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, whatever. Yeah. Why don't you make 10 years old? Or anything from the new style MCAT?
The new style is old now.
Yeah, right. It's like 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been 2015.
It's going to change soon. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's the same logic. I'm not saying I know what the logic is, but to say that you have to have currency in your prereqs too, that you have to have taken them within 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. They want to make sure. And I guess to some degree, making sure that you are, I look at it as being in an academic mindset and ready to go in and take all the tests and stuff. I don't know that that's the answer. It's literally you making it up on the fly. But that would be logical to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Retention of prereq material as well, right? Just signaling retention, understanding of foundational material. That's kind of important because you're going to build on it.
Okay. So no earth-shattering conspiracy that everyone's trying to make the AAMC more money.
No.
No kickbacks.
Maybe, but yes, every school gets a little extra money. Some kickbacks there. All right. Chicos, what do you think of EKG tech for clinical experience? Yeah, it's clinical experience, right? Oh. You're putting leads on people, talking with them, making sure, like, getting consents. Can I put my hands on you? Can I touch you? Can I lift your breast to put a lead in? Like, you're having that conversation with people. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Go for it. Michelle's house. When you were on the admissions committee, what was the hierarchy for screening? Does it start with some kind of GPA and MCAT rubric? How did it start? I'll let both of you answer, because every school has a little bit of a different process. And we can only lead with, right, this is what it was when you were there, and it may be different now, without giving away any trade secrets.
Right.
Courtney, you want to share a little bit of what that process looked like?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different processes for screening. So this is a very school to school specific question. Some do a pretty heavy initial screening before they move people even into a secondary. Some that only happens once a secondary is received. Others, that heavy screening doesn't happen until post interview. So really, this is a really no one size fits all for this. Generally, there is at least a little bit of screening prior to an interview. Yes, a GPA and MCAT is commonly utilized as part of that screening. But most of the time, until you return the secondary, they're really not going to dig into much within your application. I would say for majority of schools is kind of what I saw. And yes, a lot of the time, some type of standardization, like a rubric or something like that, is used because you have to evaluate each candidate in a way that can be tracked and remain kind of fair and equitable across the board. So it's not just at the whim of somebody else. There has to be some type of standardization as part of your standard operating procedures, which is part of your accreditation. So there's a lot to unpack in this question that we can't fully share and will be nuanced.
Yeah. Anything to add there, Christine?
I mean, pre-secondary screening, I think in addition to what Courtney said with GPA and MCAT, I would also include some schools will screen for location, right? If they are tied to a mission of we want to serve a population in this state, in this location, then they also will screen, do you live here? And check that before they send secondaries. Post-secondary pre-interview, I did that as part of my job. And certainly GPA and MCAT are a part of it. And a lot of that kind of depends on the sort, so to speak, on like how the group of students come to you as an individual. So the weight of MCAT or GPA kind of depends depending on the group of students you get. But then then you start looking at mission fit. You look at what activities do you present with? What are you writing about? What are you talking about? Do you think that they're going to be a good fit for your program? And I think that's the only thing it is. Is there a rubric? I never had a written rubric, but we had orientation and discussions every cycle, even if the committee members were the exact same people. We still had an orientation and a discussion about what was expected of us and what we were looking for.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it. Love the behind the scenes stuff. I always want to do more of that because I think that was really the big mission why I started a lot of what I do now or what I started back then. So
teaches you a lot when you run it.
Yeah.
You get your hands in basically every piece of it.
Yeah. Dinobot. Can I include a publication in the ACOMAS achievement section if it has been accepted but not published to the journal yet? Kind of a nuanced question. I think the publications section there, I never know the ACOMAS subjects categories off the top of my head. It's just the MCAS ones. What do you think about someone putting publication, but then in the description, just mentioning it's been accepted, but not actually published yet?
Yeah. So this doesn't go in the experience section itself. There is a separate little kind of category or section that's devoted to awards, scholarship, publications, things like that, which has a much smaller character count associated. So yeah, I don't see any problem with this. I think include dates, include, the name, the topic, and what stage it's at, and then they can determine what to do with that information.
Okay. Love it. All right. Michael, what's poppin', party people? I love Michael. Michael's a pre-med up in Fort Collins at CSU. Michael, how's the application process going? I know you're applying this cycle. Hopefully it's going well. Michael does have a question. For the Any Concerns secondary, should I talk about personal growth and what I learned from the concerns? Michael, I would need to know, like, what is the exact prompt? I don't know what the Any Concerns secondary is, so I'd love to learn a little bit more there.
I think it's the one where it's like anything you want to address within your applications, like red flags, low GPA, MCAT, like anything else you want to share is, I'm assuming.
That hasn't been tackled anywhere else yet.
And I would say yes, then you should talk about growth and learning.
Yep. Love it. Corbins, I received my first MD interview thanks to Application Academy. Woo! Next month on August 19th, can you discuss the interview to acceptance chances? What are they looking for during the interview? I love this question. Christine, I've talked to some schools. I won't name the school because I don't know how public this information is. But one director of admissions I was talking to said, we highly scrutinize the interviews, right? I guess more than other schools might, so that the interview to acceptance rate is really, really, really high. And so if you get an interview at this school, you're almost guaranteed an interview spot or an acceptance unless you completely screw it up. Other schools potentially a little bit more loose there. Do you have a general thought on what this interview to acceptance path looks like and how the interview plays a role there?
I don't, I was thinking about chances. I don't know what chances are. I know the interview is weighted pretty heavily, to be honest. I would put some heft into the prep and being ready for it because I think a not great interview can ruin a very good application. They're looking for the connection now, right? They read your application to the depth that they read it. I don't think it matters because they read it and they liked it. That means you made basically a top 10% of the applicant pool cut. That you're better than 90% of other people that we're looking at. We like you enough to interview you. And so I think the interview, the weight of it's pretty significant because now we want to make sure that you match that application to some degree in person, that you can articulate why, that you can understand why you're a good fit for our program and all those good things. And so the chances, I mean, I've interviewed people and really I've liked their application. I've interviewed them, or no, I've interviewed them and then I get their application and I read it and I hated their application. And even a good interview report, I'm like, oh, I don't know how to get past this one because I liked them in person. I didn't like their application. There's a lot of nuance to it, I think, that comes after, and it depends on, again, it's kind of the rules of the game with each school and how they weigh it. Where I was, interviews can sway a lot in either direction.
Yeah. Courtney, anything to add there?
I agree. I think an interview carries quite a bit of weight. That's your chance to advocate for yourself and also signal your attributes and soft skill development and preparedness to be on campus, hit the ground running, prepared for third and fourth year when you're going to start that. Because I've got some information leading me to think you can likely pass year one and year two up to that point. But yeah, I would say there's been times where, like Dr. Kristen said, you have a really strong candidate who either very much misinterpreted the point of the interview or did not do a good job advocating for themselves and signaling those things that we were actually looking for, and kind of trips at the finish line, essentially. And it's really hard to sit through and kind of, bummer, right? It's hard to watch that, and you can't tell if it's just because they got bad advice on what it was, or if they really are a bit stunted in the areas that are important. And so you really need to practice. You really, really need to practice for these, because this is your chance to like verbalize and connect with the school. And so don't trip at the finish line, because if you put together a good application and you make it to the 8 to 15 on a high end % of interviews, this is not charity to give out an interview. You need to practice.
And I also just say, if you are interviewing with, a lot of schools will do 2 interviews, one with a faculty member or a staff, and then one with a student.
Right.
All of them count. Don't discount the importance of a student interview, and let your hair hang out and be like, oh, it's cool. We're friends. We're peers. We are not. Not
They
yet.
come running. They come running to tattle on you.
And they're much harder, I think, than I think other
100%.
They are not playing.
Yeah.
And so, and the admissions committee, the committees I always sat on, the student voice was just as loud as the staff and the faculty voice.
100%.
Never underestimate that.
Yeah. Don't ask inappropriate questions where it's like, maybe you didn't have options, but like, what's hidden and wrong with this school? So you can tell me so I don't get hoodwinked. Like, don't be asking dirty laundry questions. They come running as soon as they exit. We don't want this person. They have a bad attitude. So
they don't
Why
really
is this person an 80-year-old smoker? That's what they sound like.
That's what they act like.
To get off my lawn, old man.
Yes, they're very disgruntled because, as soon as they get in, they want that bar raised, right?
Oh, like, they're ladder pullers, huh?
Everybody in the pool affects one another. Once you're in there, you're doing the same initiatives. You have to do research together. They're going to be your upperclassmen. They want students who are grateful for the assistance that they're going to give them and the path and legacy that they're going to leave. They have to go to the same preceptors. You're hoping your upperclassmen match well. Like it's very much a pool where people are impacted. And so, they want people who have a good attitude, who want to add value to the campus and who are grateful for the opportunity and not acting like they are above it or that they're know-it-alls. They don't like it.
Staff and faculty don't like them either. I had one of those. I'm like, I hate you. I hated you 5 minutes into this party.
It's not good. So,
don't want that.
You have to start verbalizing your responses, but you also have to have a way to be held accountable with somebody who at least understands what attributes and the point of the interview, because it's not a job interview and it's not a verbal exam either. So there's a lot of prep.
And even if the school is not your first choice, the fact that they have offered you an interview bumps them right to the top. That is your school. That's your place. You got to envision yourself there.
Yep.
Yeah. I would love a brief like horror story interview if you can from each of you.
I know somebody.
Yeah. Courtney, what's your horror story interview?
I don't know if it's a horror story, but it's somebody I'll never forget. There was a gentleman who was part of an interview day who could not, for the life of him, stop looking at his hair in any shiny surface.
Fantastic.
Any shiny surface that during like presentations, he, like when we were doing the standardized patients in the clinic, in the clinic, somebody was giving a presentation, the director of the clinic, and he's flipped around in the two-way mirror fixing his hair like the whole time. And another fact I remembered about him is he ran a cologne and perfume business, and he really thought highly of himself. And I will never forget that candidate, just because it was so off-putting how self-absorbed he came across, and just what are you doing right now? Yeah, it was bad.
Did he overpower the room as if he owned a perfume business because he just was overly perfumed?
He was very but he was a little too self-absorbed.
That's great.
Going on. And it was super rude.
So some people don't understand that just because you like the way you smell with colognes and perfumes doesn't mean it can be completely overpowering to someone else. Like tone it down on interview day, especially those in-person interviews. Until we get the smell-o-rama tools that it's like I can smell you across the computer. Don't worry about it if you're a virtual interview.
I used to say hide your crazy until you got your acceptance. But anyway. Oh God. So in person, I had somebody show up. You know, we talk about being very conservative. This is interviews. You are dressed in a full suit. They showed up in MC Hammer pants.
They were too legit, man.
Though they were, and we're sitting there, and my staff and I were setting up, and they came in, and I'm like, "Are you interviewing?" Because I mean, yeah, okay, go ahead and send in. This is gonna go bad.
Yeah, immediately bad.
The first line in the report is they were dressed inappropriately for the interview. We got the report. I'm like, they did not get accepted.
Wow. Wait, was this their look?
The pants, yes, the pants were big and baggy like that. I don't know if they were gold lame.
I think they should be. If you're gonna do it in gold.
I mean, seriously. And then I had somebody who argued with me in the interview about the budget of the school, saying that you guys clearly, because you guys can do this, this, and this. I'm like, I have no idea where you're getting your information and why we're having this conversation. But that is blatantly not true. And he just kept arguing, his arrogant. I'm like, I'm out. I cannot wait for this 30 minutes to end. And we are ending at 30 minutes at this point.
Yeah. I'll take a crier over somebody who's super arrogant.
I've had criers too. I've had a few criers.
Oh man, they cry so hard too because they're so worked up. They've had too much coffee. They're losing it. You know?
And I've had people who literally
and then they're crying because they're crying.
Yeah, they can't speak. They're so anxious. I'm like, I'm a nice interviewer. Just calm down.
Calm down. Wait, I'm not laughing at you people. Like I was a stressed out pre-med. I understand. It's just comical, like how stressful this situation is. And
so stressful.
You just got to relax. Just relax and have fun with it.
But come. Honestly, come talk to us. I know I hound this like every single year I'm with MSHQ, but like I don't know if we can drill home enough. Like the tone of your writing for your application and then how you approach the interview can sway so many people and affect your cycle so much. So like please practice, preferably with somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because this can be a make or break for sure. Not to add more pressure to the interview, but there's pressure on the interview.
Yeah.
So Michelle says it's not making her feel any better. I know.
Just relax. Just relax. Have fun.
And remembering they liked you for a reason, and let them get to know you authentically. Don't make up a persona. Don't try to do whatever. Let them see the person that applied.
Yeah. And there are, with practice, strategies that you can deploy during the interview to help you move through something if you're feeling stuck. That still makes it a helpful answer and things like that. So again, like we can help if you're feeling freaked out by it.
Awesome question that came from Instagram that I put over here. I've been given the advice to not mention an interest in surgery for schools that ask if I have a sense of specialty I want to go into. Do you have any thoughts? Courtney, I'm always weary about inauthenticity. If a school asks outside of a primary or secondary application, or maybe it's part of a secondary application, like if a student really has an interest in surgery and they hide that interest and then the school accepts them and then they're like, okay, now I'm interested in surgery, and that school isn't a good fit for one reason or another, I don't know why it wouldn't be, but I always worry about being inauthentic and then being in a situation where you just don't feel like you can be yourself because you hid yourself through the process.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. Maybe overthinking it.
No, I think a lot of people have somewhat of a vision. Maybe if you have a very solid, I'm not deviating vision, you should be honest about it. You really should. To get the resources, to have clear insight. Oh yeah, we actually have something for that kind of thing. Yeah, you can be transparent about that. If it's not a set deal and you're talking about being an orthopedic surgeon, just because you're an athlete and you've been around them, like, they don't want you checked out for every other piece of the curriculum that they're going to teach you. And so you, even if you do have a specialty in mind, you can mention it, but don't make it seem like, for renal, I'm out. I don't care at all. So to a point, yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
But you should be honest, yes.
Srinivas, hey guys, I'm 18 and a half years old and I'm in my senior undergrad year. Ooh, so older, faster student. I've got my EMT basic and REMT certs, but I'm not getting direct patient experience. Should I take a gap year for phlebotomy or pharmacy tech? Srinivas, I would question why, if you have your EMT basic, why would you take a gap year and do phlebotomy or pharmacy tech? Like, be an EMT if that's what you want to do. Yeah. I'm not sure I understand why you would pivot into phlebotomy. Pharmacy tech I wouldn't do. We don't consider that clinical experience unless you're giving vaccines, but that's a smaller part of the job. So yeah, this is right, Christine. We find this probably the number one issue with younger students is not necessarily that they're younger; it's that they just don't have time to get the experience that schools are expecting students to do. Because a lot of these clinical experiences, you have to be 18 plus.
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, I think at least one gap year is in order. But again, I agree. Why are you not looking at being an EMT, being an ER tech, doing something with that EMT license if you have it? If you're not getting direct patient experience, is it because you are just driving? And again, you're 18 and a half, so you probably got that EMT maybe younger and you weren't allowed to do certain aspects of it. So I would pursue making some adjustments there. But if you have spent all this time only focused on academics, and given that you're 18 and a half and soon to be graduating, I'm going to guess that's part of it. You need some time. I think you need some time in patient care. I think you need some time to step back and build up that other profile and get to a good place where you know you're ready to apply.
Get those experiences so that we can use them to reflect on for your essays, for your interviews, all that kind of stuff. Dylan asks a good question. The second part of this question, outside of the timeline here, when do interview invites generally start to roll in? They're happening. they're
Slowly but
coming
surely.
out. Yeah. So they're both MD and DO, Texas included. Not just early decision. Interviews are coming out. So be prepared. And then the good question here, should I start prep before having any invites?
Yes.
2, 3 head nods.
Yes.
Why?
That's simple. You don't know when the invite's going to come. You don't know when the date they're going to ask you. Zoom makes it a lot quicker of a turnaround. They could invite you on a Monday for a Thursday interview. And you're going to be scrambling. But get your confidence now. I mean, just start gaining some early confidence. Feel comfortable answering, tell me about yourself and why do you want to be a doctor? If nothing else, start getting some of those basic answers comfortable. And then when it's time for the real interview, even if you don't have time for significant prep, you know you can get through some of the basic questions.
Yeah. Okay. My big thing, and Courtney, you and I were talking about this last night in a workshop that we were doing, is we generally don't prepare for school specific interviews, right? We
Right.
can, right? If a school does an MMI, yeah, let's practice an MMI. We can go and look and see if a school has any sort of specific types of questions they ask. Maybe there's some oddball question they ask that we want to get students to prepare for. But ultimately, the skills that we teach and the feedback that we give isn't wasted if a student doesn't get an interview, or their interview isn't for 3 months. They get a recording of the interview when they do it with us. That feedback is there. They can continue to practice and build on that feedback. So that's, I think, an important thing to know or remember.
Yeah. I think the interview itself and kind of what they're looking for is one of the more, I guess, is one of the things that's probably the most common amongst schools. We're always talking about it's so nuanced. You never know. Like there's such deviation in thought and process. Whereas like in the interview, I think a lot of schools are looking for just about the same thing because of where you're at in the process and what they need to kind of see and verify before feeling comfortable seating you in a class. And so there is something that will kind of help get you there. And so I think, yeah, you can prep without having a school, and it will be universally helpful because a lot of schools are kind of in sync, at least on this point, for the most part.
Okay.
One of the few things I think that we're all kind of looking for the same thing.
Yeah. Kenny says, my application hasn't been verified yet. I submitted on July 6th. Am I considered late? Am I screwed? You're not screwed.
Not screwed.
July 6th, in the spectrum of when you could submit, our general recommendation is always like, if you can, apply in June. July 6th is a week after that. So it's a little bit riskier, but I think everyone focuses on the verification where that's outside of the student's control. The only thing that the student can control is when they actually submit.
Yep.
It's fine.
And pre-writing your secondaries.
And pre-writing secondaries. Yeah.
Don't wait until you're verified. You better be pre-writing right now.
Right. Yes.
The prompts are out there. You can find those prompts.
Yeah. Another question from Instagram, emed2090. Is that their med school graduation year? I'm class 2090.
God.
I'm 24 and have. Are we going to be around by then? Probably not. No,
I won't be.
I hope not.
I think maybe they'll have the technology where they can download our brain into a robot and we'll just live in a robot. I think it'd be cool. Maybe. I don't know.
Cryo-freezing.
I'm 24. I have had 18 major reconstructive surgeries since I started college in 2019. That's crazy. I have 3.2. Actually got accepted to a top 10 undergrad. I'm assuming. Yeah. Would my unique situation help my low GPA? I'm an EMT was the last part of that. Courtney,
no.
Schools are going to either cut you off or they're not going to cut you off. They're going to filter you, not filter you, whatever. Some schools have a process, and Christine, you and I have talked about this, and Courtney, I think you and I have talked about this, of like everyone that gets screened out potentially because of MCAT or GPA. Some schools still have a process to look at those people and go, is there a needle in a haystack here? A diamond in the rough. If a student hasn't proven themselves academically, do they get a flyer because they've had a lot of surgeries? Courtney?
In and of itself, no. If we're taking into account how many things they had stacked on top of each other to where it actually did show academic prowess, even though the number is slightly lower, because they were doing, right, clinical and volunteering and having surgery and doing upper divisions, and they were still kind of at a B average, and there was a lot going on, maybe. right? Maybe then I'm looking holistically at the situation, but just saying I had a rough go, is it going to cover my GPA? No, on the basis of that, no. But some schools will look holistically at it.
Is there an upward trend that they start off
Yeah.
really low and then do really well toward the end, and putting it all together puts you at a 3.2 is a lot different than just being, there's so much nuance that I don't think we can
Yeah.
fully answer that question.
Yeah.
But your unique situation is a part of your story.
Yeah.
And if as to the degree you feel comfortable, allow them to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I always shy away from, because students have this kind of overinflated sense of, my activities are great, my story's great, I'm awesome, but I have a 3.2, I have a 3.1, I have a 2.9, whatever it is, and they've never actually shown academic ability.
Yeah.
I always lean on, like, the med schools first and foremost need to make sure that you're going to pass medical school. So if you have a 3.2, but your last 40 credits are 3.9, fantastic, right? That 3.2 definitely is a very different number now. If you're a 3.2 student across the board, your surgeries don't really come into play. You're a 3.2 student, and I don't think a lot of medical schools are going to potentially risk giving you a seat. So it just depends.
Yep.
Emed says, yes, there's an upward trend. I started with a 2. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they said, that's not what I meant. I was just wondering if I maintain a 4.0 in my upper division courses, if that would help explain. Absolutely. It's that upward trend that really matters. And then you tell your story. Good job. Kenny, opinion on a 3.7 512 MCAT, because I know there are a lot of because I know these are the lowest competitive numbers. What are you talking
Where
about?
do you find that?
This is the problem with SDN and Reddit, right? 3.7 and 512. Those are
I am
great numbers.
happy. I'm dancing with those numbers. Those are great.
Oh my goodness.
Those are above the matriculating mean for MD schools.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't it like a 511? Is the
511 and
matriculating mean?
change.
or 8.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
511 and change. A 3.7 on any metric is a good number.
Yeah.
You people are crazy. Crazy.
Overthinkers.
Overthinking. Welcome to the
not a
Overthinking
thing.
Premed Club.
Yeah, that's not a
Matthew
thing.
says, Kenny, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
All I
What
picture
Matthew
is
said.
South Park Kenny.
Yeah.
Poor Kenny. All right. DinoBot, does the same person read the primary and secondary applications?
Good question.
I don't know. I think it's pretty standard across the board. Christine, you're shaking your head yes?
Yeah, I mean, usually, no, it's multiple people reading, I would say. But generally, if somebody is reading your application, they're reading all the parts that they're allowed. So what I mean by that is some schools will take out the academic information and allow certain people to read the rest. But like admissions committee, when we're ready to vote, it's all the parts.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah. Multiple people will read it, but they should read all of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for interviews though, I know like some schools will do a hybrid where it's like they give you the personal statement and access to the secondaries only.
Right.
And so I think it's the most nuanced during the interview portion where some people may see some parts and not others. But yeah, exactly. The AdCom gets everything. So
but when we were doing interviews at one school, one school, they would remove academic information, and our dean was like, they're already qualified academically for this interview. You do not need to worry about it. Here's their stuff. And then another school would just, the interviewers did not get anything in their, you didn't get their application period. So you just went in and got to know them. So it varies across all lanes during the interviews, but AdComs, in terms of either selecting for interview or for voting, they have probably the majority of your application.
Matthew asks, what would you say is the biggest
Oh,
downfall you
pick
see
me.
of a high stat applicant?
Interesting. That's a great question.
Christine, high stat
Uh,
applicant, coming
they
in,
think,
rocking it.
yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
they think that's gonna just take them all the way home. They don't. Well, not they. The ones that I have seen that stand out in my mind
Mhm.
have not taken the time to do anything else and build up the
Mhm.
resume side of their application. They
Yep.
haven't gotten clinical. They may have super great research. They focus
Right.
on certain aspects, primarily things that are academic. And I think the biggest mistake is they broadly make this the assumption that my 4.0 528 is going to just automatically give me a yes.
Mhm. Yep.
And that's a major fallacy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as clearly as possible for me, is lack of clinical experience just
Yep.
it's gonna blow your application. Courtney,
Ryan
anything
gets
to
my
add there?
crazy messages on that one.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times where, again, coming back to tone of their writing, is pretty off with how they're coming across as applicants, and what they're talking about. And so I usually, when I have a very high stat student, have to rework quite a bit of their essays if they're reapplicants, and kind of prep them for things a little bit better because they're approaching it
Mhm.
maybe not with their best foot forward and how they're presenting themselves. So um, I've seen a lot of rewrites with essays.
Yeah. I
Yep.
think it's an over reliance on stats. I really do.
Yeah.
They just don't give
Mhm.
credence to the rest.
Stats and research, right? Over reliance on I have 2,000 hours of research and I have a
Mhm.
4.0 and a 520 and I'm good. I've proven that I want to be a doctor because I'm really smart and I like research.
Well,
And that's
and
just
with how much emphasis schools are now placing on like interpersonal skill development, working with underrepresented communities, like being involved in community service and things like that. Um, Sometimes they will appear a bit stunted in those areas, and
100%.
it shows and it worries the school because they don't want to have professionalism problems as soon as you hit bedside third year, because you are either sheltered or so oblivious to like what's going on in kind of communities outside of your own and the academic campus. And so you don't want to get that far lopsided. You still have to have that attribute and skill set developed and exposure. And you know, medicine is now customer service part two. Like if you work at a hospital, you're getting ratings, that's going to the hospital admin, and they're looking for, rate your experience and things like that. And so you do have to have some exposure and some bedside, if you're going to be a bridge, or how many schools say they want to increase access, decrease barriers and things like that. Like what you described with high research and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of students like that where they come in really good academically, but very low
yeah.
in other areas, which
And
is
they're
problematic.
completely defeated and they go, if I couldn't get in with this, how am I going to get in? And just having a quick conversation that we're having now of here's what you didn't prove to yourself yet and why med schools aren't going to take a chance on you. And then they go, oh, okay. Like I see why this clinical experience, the shadowing, why this is important, because I'm going to go spend 250,000, 300,000, whatever dollars on a medical education. And this is going to be my life. And I haven't really proven to myself that I actually like being in a clinical environment, that I like being around patients. I've proven that I'm definitely smart enough. I've proven that I like bench research or whatever kind of research you were doing, but you just haven't proven that you like taking care of the patient, which is what this is all about.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. This is an interesting situation. I attended an institution for a diploma in nursing in 2012. The school has permanently closed. I cannot obtain the transcripts. Those transcripts usually are in some sort of clearinghouse, right? When a school closes, there has to be some process where those transcripts get stored somewhere else. So I would look at a clearinghouse.
I mean,
If the
maybe
institution in the U.S.
Well, and I think I'm trying to think back to like my, what is it, FERPA training?
Yeah.
Because I know you have to keep them for 10 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're over that 10-year mark, so I'm not sure what the school would be held accountable to do. Actually, once it's over that time period.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say this is where, I mean, if you have a diploma in nursing, is that a bachelor's? I don't know what a diploma, as long as it's a bachelor's degree, you would have to contact either AMCAS or a COMIS. I contact the State Board of Education.
Yeah, that's what I was going to be. My recommendation is contact the Board of Education. So smart. You've gone that route.
Yeah.
All right. They might be lost. Yeah. I don't. Let's assume they're lost in this situation. Should they contact the AMCAS and say, what do I do in this situation?
I would.
Boy, that's rough. That's tough.
If you're confident that that's where your prereqs are, and if you have other transcripts that demonstrate your degree or whatever, then maybe you can say, this is only one of the schools I've attended. Maybe they would give you dispensation. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think about the school requirements though, and like
how you
legally, legally, I have to be able to have something in a file that says I evaluated this. So,
but I think if they contact the State Board of Education and if they do it in writing and they get something in writing that says this is no longer available, at least you would say we made every effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where I think, and it's very interesting. We have seen a big shift away from the blockchain, right? As the technology behind like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. There's been so much public focus on the cryptocurrency part of it, but the underlying technology of the blockchain has a ton of useful purposes. And I know one of the big things that education is looking at is using the blockchain for this exact reason, for storing transcripts in some sort of immutable way on the blockchain, where if the school closes, it doesn't matter. It's on the blockchain. Your transcript's there. We know it's authentic. We know it hasn't been tampered with or changed because all of that can be tracked. And so I always lean back on technology can solve this problem. And we have that technology. Blockchain is there. It's just a matter of a company coming and implementing this and taking over the transcript world and getting rid of all of the way we do transcripts now and just put it on the blockchain.
Transcripts are some of my least favorite things to deal with.
Yeah.
Trying to interpret those things where every different registrar's office does a different funky thing with their transcripts was rough. I used to do them by hand.
It's crazy. Tariq, do you think emergency department volunteer where I have no responsibility of caring for patients counts as clinical? No.
No.
Nope. Not the clinical. All right. Let's get another question or two in here. Julie, I'm lacking clinical experience this decade. I've sent back half to most of my secondaries. Wow, that was a weird way of saying that. I've sent back most of my secondaries. Will taking a caregiving position move the needle in my favor or merit an update letter? All right, so Julie potentially is that student that's applying with lack of clinical experience. Courtney, any last ditch effort here? Be like, I'm gonna go do something right now and go send an update.
Whoa,
could that help?
Decade is a long time.
No, this decade. So maybe it was like 2019, right? That's
okay.
decade.
5 years is a long time too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It is a long time. I'm assuming she means in the 2020 is it for this
Okay.
decade.
Okay.
It doesn't change my thought, but
I'm I guess taking a caregiving position, merit an update letter, like, yes, if it comes to the point where you're needing to send update letters, I would include it. Are the schools actually going to take that into account? Again, very nuanced. Some schools don't take update letters, so if you send them anything, it goes straight to the garbage. I mean, do what you can, but this is not ideal, I would say. Not an ideal situation to be. This should have been tackled a little bit earlier.
I don't think it's going to move the needle to get an
Yeah.
interview,
Yeah.
to be very frank. They're going to probably I would assume they're going to base all the decision on what you submit in your primary and your secondary. And a caregiving position, while clinical is post mini secondaries, it's not on your primary.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably not going to move the needle. I would just flat out say no.
Yeah.
And again, I fall back on the whole point of the experience is to reflect on it for everything that you're writing and we'll talk about. And if you haven't had that experience in a while, I would assume your writing and your stories that you have probably aren't powerful enough to warrant moving on to those next stages anyway. So then the question, I'll ask the follow-up question here as the last question here of the hour. Should Julie continue in the cycle and continue paying the secondary fees, or should Julie say, you know what, I think this is too big of a risk and I'm just gonna drop out now, and I know there's some sunk costs here already, but I'm gonna drop out? Or should they just keep pushing forward and see what happens?
I don't know that it's on us to tell somebody they should drop out. I do not think they will have a successful cycle. I
hope you do.
I hope you do. I always
Yeah.
hope someone does, but
Yeah.
my experience makes me think that it's probably a futile effort at a high expense. If I were in the advice giving business, I would encourage you to really look at the clinical experiences you have, get something that's current. I would also like to see more traditional clinical experiences, not just caregiving, and really take this year. And if you choose to continue your application, my advice doesn't change. Continue getting some clinical experiences, more traditional clinical experiences. So, and I'm going to say it just like this. So when you need to reapply, you will be ready to go.
Yeah. You probably saw our faces as soon as we read the question.
Yeah. Good luck, Julie.
This is rough.
Yeah. You're halfway in. At this point, for me, it's just a financial decision. Do you keep going? It's a time commitment decision. And then what is often left out of the equation is the emotional toll of applying and then getting rejected and going, oh, was it worth it, and all that stuff. I think the emotional stuff, you're mid-cycle now. The emotional stuff we can hopefully help you with and prepare you for that. Hopefully what doesn't come, but may likely come, is rejection at the end of this cycle. But again, we don't have a crystal ball at school. Maybe we'll take a chance on you. So good luck. Keep going. Julie says that is also helpful. Thank you very much. All right, friends. With that, Blue says, do you have any pre-dental students? Yeah, we work with pre-dental students. It's just not a direct thing we do, but all of the interview, essay, advice that we give works for the dental school application as well. Courtney, Christine, thank you for hanging out again for another Premed office hours. Students, thanks for hanging out. Tell all your friends that we're here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer your questions. If you're a part of a Premed club on campus, let them know that they should come hang out with us. We have all of the recordings, obviously, that stay on YouTube. And thanks for hanging out. To go to medicalschoolhq.net, check out our advising services to help you with your applications, interviews, essays, all that good stuff. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.